now on CBC Vancouver News.
The thing that shocked me the most is that the normalcy, the fact that it was normal for people to be laying on the sidewalk, for people to be stepping over them.
BC's advisor for the Downtown Eastside asks for more time to try to tackle the area's immense challenges. Plus,
what we're trying to do is build great communities on the edge of campus.
A BC university looks to its own land to turn a profit amid big deficits and job cuts.
Any of those profits aren't going to go to operational funds.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. BC's advisor for the Downtown Eastside is going to stay on the job for another 6 months. Former coroner turned Vancouver mayor turned senator Larry Campbell says more work needs to be done to address complex challenges in the neighborhood. As John Hernandez explains, Campbell also wants to look at more closely at how money is being spent.
6 months to solve this community's woes was never going to be enough time for Larry Campbell.
I think I knew that going in, but sometimes my ego takes the better of me.
Campbell, a former Vancouver mayor and BC chief coroner, was appointed provincial community advisor for the Downtown Eastside in September.
The thing that shocked me the most is that the normalcy, the fact that it was normal for people to be laying on the sidewalk, for people to be stepping over them.
His task is to get governments and nonprofits on the same page when it comes to tackling homelessness and addictions here. His term, now extended for another 6 months, he's put forward no proposed solutions, but says he has a starting point.
I'd like to find some way of coordinating the money, the organizations, to the point where there's a cooperation there.
Campbell's plan is to take a closer look at the millions of dollars being spent on services like food, shelters, and overdose prevention, and figure out where it's meeting people's needs and where it's not.
I don't want to take 1 cent away from what's going to the Downtown Eastside. This is not about saving money. This is about taxpayers' money going in to help a community that's in dire straits, and being able to see what the results are.
These are wicked problems. They require and they deserve a kind of long view.
This community advocate says Campbell's presence has been noticeable during his first term, and there's support for him to carry on.
I think that people have approached him with astonishing candor, celebrating what is truly heroic about what this community brings together in terms of meeting these crises, and what is still painfully lacking.
I think at the end of this 6 months, I will be able to report back to you on some very concrete and specific things that we should do.
6 more months to solve problems that have compounded for years. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Surrey Police Service says it will assume command of Cloverdale starting on Wednesday. The move expands the role of Surrey Police as the city continues transitioning away from the RCMP. The Mounties have policed Cloverdale for more than 70 years. After this change, Guildford will remain as the only region of Surrey still policed by the RCMP. Officials said there will be no change into how people contact police. The BC woman held in an ICE detention facility in Texas with her 7-year-old daughter could finally be going home. A judge has now granted her bond. Tanya Warner says her husband, who is American, is scraping together their savings to make bond that was set at $9,500 US. Originally from Penticton, she says they could be back home in Kingsville, Texas after 2 weeks in detention. The mother-daughter duo was taken into custody at a permanent border checkpoint while coming home from a baby shower. Warner says she's trying to get a green card, but her immigration paperwork was up to date. The University of the Fraser Valley in Abbotsford is searching for new revenue sources as it faces big deficits and layoffs. As Keir Juno shows us, it's following other BC universities by repurposing its land.
In recent years, the University of the Fraser Valley has marked this parking lot at its Abbotsford campus for future development. So imagine condos, coffee shops, and public space right over here. But now that years-long push for new revenue sources comes as the university faces multi-million-dollar deficits and lays off dozens of staff.
Very strong.
UFE's Jackie Hogan says any development profits have always been a long-term revenue plan made possible through a properties trust launched in 2023.
So for capital investments, for research, student supports, those kinds of things. This is not an operating stream of revenue. This is an investment back into the university or the University Foundation.
Gary Morrison with the Trust says it's exactly what's been done at UBC and SFU.
So the idea of the property trust is to think beyond funding. What we're trying to do is build great communities on the edge of campus.
I struggle with the timing as this community is hurting right now to say, hey, we're doing this when any of those profits aren't going to go to operational funds.
In the same week, UFE announced a new timeline for development. Laid off staff were packing their boxes and moving out. The university announced a $20 million deficit in the fall, and layoffs this March are part of addressing that.
You're going to have less services. You're going to be looking to have larger class sizes. And so it doesn't seem fair to our students to ask for more and receive less.
Some students say they have had trouble finding courses to enroll in, even basic first-year classes.
It can always be a little more hard in the summer because they have like less offerings. But I did find I registered for 8 courses for the summer and I only got into 1.
I wanted to like kind of get ahead, I guess, and take like Chem 114. It just wasn't available, which I found really surprising because it seems like the sort of course that would be in the summer.
Despite study permit caps, UFE is still trying to strengthen its existing connections in India through its Chandigarh campus and at Punjab University.
There's been declined enrollment at our Chandigarh campus, but I think there's opportunities for other ways of attracting students from India to our campus here.
Meanwhile, the first stage of development here at Abbotsford campus is expected to begin in 2028. Keir Junos, CBC News, Abbotsford.
This day, March 31st, marks Trans Day of Visibility. This comes as some people in BC's South Asian diaspora worry the Indian government's move to restrict the rights of trans people could threaten their safety back home. The CBC's Tanushi Bhatnagar has more.
One of my first costumes inspired by Indian flag.
As a trans woman, returning home to Punjab, India is not an option for Ra.
My mom told me I'm ashamed of the family. So, and I know for a fact if I go back, my life is on the line.
She says pressure and threats from family have kept her in Vancouver for 6 years, and now changes to India's transgender protection laws are another hurdle.
For somebody who is living in India right now, identifying as trans human being, it is scary.
The bill passed in India last week amends a 2019 act that gave protections to trans people. The new rules strip people of their ability to self-identify as transgender and puts restrictions on who can receive gender-affirming surgery.
It's going to put into place what are really unfair, subjective, and unfortunately very criminalizing elements.
International human rights organizations have called the bill a major reversal of the hard-won rights of transgender people in India, where protests by trans people and activists have erupted. India's government says the changes are meant to protect people from human trafficking and abuse, and protections will still be in place for intersex people and members of traditional gender non-conforming South Asian communities. Nimrat, who is Ra's drag daughter, says she worries she'll be judged if she visits India, her friends back home having to fight harder for their rights.
They are terrified that they have to live in this society where, they were threatened by their families first, but now even if they go somewhere else in India, they're still going to be judged.
In a statement, UBC professor of sociology Amin Ghaziani says for Desi queer people in Metro Vancouver, developments in India can shape how they understand their relationship to home, identity, and belonging, who may already be navigating complex ties to their biological and chosen families, cultures, and communities. It comes at a time when transgender rights are being threatened around the world.
We are not just like pawns in a political game. We are real people with real lives, and our lives matter.
Tanushi Bhatnagar, CBC News, Vancouver.
The mayor of Vancouver helped break ground on a new development he says will revitalize the False Creek Flats as well as Chinatown.
Today is the start of adding 260 new, very much needed rental homes, while also creating space for jobs and small business and culture.
Prior Place will be set up beside the new St. Paul's Hospital. Ken Sims says it will be a mixed-use development on a former industrial site. The city says the project is focusing on housing for healthcare workers next to the new hospital. Vancouver's outdoor pools are getting their hours extended after a very busy summer last year. The Park Board has now approved changes to the hours for some of the city's most popular swimming spots. Kitsilano Pool will get extended weekend hours, and Second Beach will get new public sessions in the morning. The reservation system will also have slightly more spots for drop-ins. More changes include extending the lengths of public swims and adjusting opening hours at New Brighton Pool.
The weather update is brought to you by Paul Davis Property Restoration Experts. When things go wrong, we do what's right.
Darius Madavi is here with a first look at the weather and the rain situation.
That's right. We have this low pressure system sweeping down. It's already brought rain to Haida Gwaii, and it is heading for Vancouver Island, or perhaps arrived in some places. We are now seeing that rain going to be picking up really in the next few hours and affecting mostly the west coast island and the North Island to start, but then continuing down. Snow is going to be on the mountains because those freezing levels are low enough. That rain continues through most of the day, or all of the day really, in places like Metro Vancouver and maybe parts of the more southern sections of the east coast of the island. But for the north and western sections of the island, we actually see the drying up pretty much by the afternoon. And then maybe a little break for some sunshine, but more likely that comes Thursday morning. We're mainly cloudy in Vancouver on Thursday, but we may see a few sunnier breaks towards the end of the day. It's a possibility. And then things remain a little bit disturbed into Monday. So be on the lookout for a little bit more, a little bit of a disturbance in Vancouver in the morning. But for other areas like the North Island, more rain.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, the homegrown effort in BC to bring aid to the streets of struggling Cuba. That story is next. The community of Lillooet and a UBC researcher are working together to find out how an invasive weed is boosting the risk of wildfires. It's called cheatgrass. It grows along railroad tracks and roadways and is highly flammable. As Shelley Joyce explains, it flourishes in areas already decimated by fire.
Hot and windy, two of the qualities that make Lillooet prone to wildfires. And this stuff is not helping. It's called cheatgrass, and it's an invasive weed that crops up along roadways, railroad tracks, and in vast areas that have been burned by wildfire, where nothing else will grow. This is where the McKay Creek wildfire burned in 2021.
When we look at historic fires, typically they would burn at a mostly lower severity, but this wildfire was very much mostly medium or high severity fire, and these are the types of fires that completely eliminate the forest canopies.
UBC researcher Dr. Jennifer Grenz is trying to find out how to recover from catastrophic fires like this one. Grenz and her team have discovered that this cheatgrass is quick to grow and flourish after fires burn through seed and root banks.
When you look at it, it's going to grow to about, this is 12 inches tall, and it creates these really fine, tinder-like, dried out grass. A spark can light it. Imagine that fire can just travel along it, almost like a highway. It just will rip across the landscape really fast.
Jackie Rasmussen is with the Lillooet Regional Invasive Weed Society. She's one of the community members invested in this research.
I'm concerned that it's going to be drier. I don't know about the heat, but Lillooet is very hot. We're semi-arid desert.
Researchers say being proactive is the best way to mitigate the risk.
Management, really quick prevention. Once you have it covering the whole hillside, it's a lot more expensive and harder to control. So it's important that we are really proactive.
Encouraging the native plants to come back and using herbicides when the cheatgrass is still very small. Two possible solutions. Invasive weed research on this land will continue this season as experts predict another hot, dry, windy summer in Lillooet. Shelley Joyce, CBC News, Lillooet.
A Russian oil tanker has been allowed into Cuba on humanitarian grounds, but the American oil embargo against the island nation continues to strain that country. As Michelle Gomez explains, some British Columbians are supporting Cubans both on the ground and from afar.
Lift the blockade on Cuba now! Lift the blockade on Cuba now!
This Vancouver group has been protesting the U.S. embargo against Cuba for years. But in the last few months, they say the situation has become dire.
They have long hours of blackouts, sometimes days, like 2 or 3 days.
Children are dying in hospital, especially newborns, because there is no medication.
Electricity is off more than it's on. Hospitals are running out of medical supplies, and a dozen eggs costs a week's salary.
The lack of resources on the ground is so critical. It's so critical. I'm running out of words to tell people how tremendous the need is.
That's why 2 Kelowna women are in Havana right now. They've stuffed 14 suitcases full of necessities like medical supplies to distribute to doctors.
We are working with incredibly well-trained professionals who are extremely passionate about the kind of work that they do for their communities, who are severely under-resourced.
The U.S. has held an economic embargo against Cuba since the 60s, but this ramped up in January when President Donald Trump threatened sanctions on any country selling oil to Cuba.
I'm just continually blown away by Cubans' resourcefulness and the way that they show up for one another. Just absolutely inspired and stunned and humbled.
While the country's political future remains uncertain, advocates hope the U.S. will lift its blockade in the meantime to relieve the Cuban people.
It's no fair that the population has to suffer about politics.
It's a wonderful country, wonderful people that deserve to have a future. And then what's happening now in Cuba is, again, human right.
Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Vancouver.
There's a look at our downtown Vancouver skyline around lunchtime from our station. One last day of sun before a stretch of rain ahead. Darius will tell us next. Former Canadian ambassador and politician Stephen Lewis has died. He spent much of his life fighting for the disadvantaged in this country and overseas. As Catherine Cullen explains, Lewis's death comes just after his son won the leadership of the federal NDP.
I cannot expunge from my mind the heartless indifference, the criminal neglect of the last decade.
Stephen Lewis spent his life using his brilliance, his rage, his determination to fight injustice. One of Canada's great orators, he was a lifelong democratic socialist, son of federal NDP leader David Lewis.
His mother wanted him to be a concert pianist. He wanted to help people.
He joined the Ontario legislature in 1963.
We will oppose the bill throughout the afternoon.
Leading Ontario's NDP through most of the 70s. There was shock in 1984 when progressive conservative Brian Mulroney chose Lewis as ambassador to the United Nations.
This is the most remarkable thing. I wonder if you weren't even more surprised about this appointment than we were.
No, I think we share levels of flabbergastedness equally.
Using his pointed powers of persuasion.
How it was possible that things should come to such a pass in a world which regards itself as fundamentally civilized.
He may from time to time slip in an adjective we hadn't foreseen, but that has brought only honor to the country.
Mulroney and Lewis found common purpose battling to end South African apartheid.
No more time for tears. The tears are over. We're just waiting as we sit on top of this volcano for the whole thing to blow up.
Lewis would later call that fight a moment he would forever value. The second great fight of his life.
Around the continent, hundreds of thousands of children don't have access to treatment.
In 2005, he was named UN Special Envoy on AIDS in Africa.
And we will never subdue the gruesome force of AIDS until the rights of women become paramount.
Insisting the world must do more, pained by injustices like the millions orphaned.
You're speaking to a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old child, and this kid is weeping uncontrollably as they try to describe their life.
Again, he called out global powers and, as he did throughout his life, demanded better of all of us.
Can someone, anyone, please explain to me our contemporary balance of values? Thank you.
Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.
The war with Iran seems to be pulling the U.S. and Europe even further apart. President Donald Trump and his Secretary of War are now both openly deriding some of their traditional allies, even suggesting there may be payback for not doing more to support Washington's mission in the Middle East. Megan Fitzpatrick explains.
President Trump is lashing out at European leaders, saying they aren't cooperating enough with the American and Israeli-led war in Iran. Writing on his social media platform, Trump accused France of preventing Israeli planes from flying over its territory. France has been very unhelpful, Trump wrote, and the USA will remember, he vowed. Next, he criticized countries who rely on oil shipments from the Strait of Hormuz. The crucial shipping corridor is virtually shut down due to Iran's threats to attack oil tankers passing through. That's caused global oil prices to soar, and on Tuesday, gas prices in the U.S. reached a new high since the war started, a national average of $4 U.S. per gallon. Trump's advice to the United Kingdom and others: buy oil from the U.S. and also build up some delayed courage, go to the Strait and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Go get your own oil. It's not the first time Trump has complained about NATO allies, and his frustration was echoed by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth.
When we ask for additional assistance or simple access basing overflight, we get questions or roadblocks or hesitations. And the president's pointing out, you don't have much of an alliance if you have countries that are not willing to stand with you when you need them. He's simply pointing that out, and ultimately it'll be his decision of what that looks like after this is complete.
Though Hegseth didn't single out any countries, there are reports that France, Italy, and Spain have resisted U.S. requests for support in recent days. He claimed more ships are being allowed to traverse the strait this week compared to last, but shipping in the region remains a risky activity. Iran is being blamed for attacking a Kuwaiti oil tanker near Dubai Monday night. Hegseth said negotiations with Iran are active and gaining strength, and while a peace deal is the preference, the U.S. will negotiate with bombs until one is reached. Megan Fitzpatrick, CBC News, Washington.
The Strait of Hormuz is a long way from us here on BC's West Coast, but the ripple effects of the war in the Middle East are quickly being felt here. Everything from rising gas prices to food, even mortgages. For more on all this, we're joined by Brendan Ogmanson. He is the chief economist at the BC Real Estate Association. Brendan, first of all, how does this oil crisis compare historically?
If it goes on much longer, in terms of the overall impact of a shortage of oil and the increase in prices, this could be the worst that we've seen since the 1970s, the OPEC crisis. But certainly similar precedent for the Ukraine war, even the war in Syria in 2011. So we've been here, but this is looking like a lot worse in the overall magnitude, especially if it lasts another couple of months.
And how does this crisis change what we pay for? We understand, I think, the gas and the fuel pinch, but in terms of food, simple household goods, what about that impact?
Yeah, there's kind of the primary immediate impacts that we're already seeing, things like gas prices, impacts in financial markets. The longer this goes, though, as fuel costs rise, and if they stay at elevated levels, that makes anything to do with transporting goods much more expensive, and then that price gets passed on to consumer goods, and we get higher prices at grocery stores, higher prices really anywhere where goods need to be delivered, by truck or by plane or on there that uses fuel.
And what about the impact on food production here in Canada?
Doesn't necessarily affect food production here, but we're dealing with global markets, right? So if there's a massive shortage in fertilizer, and a lot of fertilizer or components for fertilizer come through the Strait of Hormuz, then the cost of that fertilizer gets higher, and that means the costs for Canadian producers is higher because they all are global price takers.
I mentioned in the introduction, this is even affecting how home buyers may move forward with the purchase. How does that work?
It's certainly not great for a housing market that's already had some real difficulties. So the most immediate impact of high oil prices, or one of the most immediate impacts we've seen, is in financial markets, where because we're expecting higher prices to drive inflation in Canada higher, financial markets are betting that the Bank of Canada might have to raise rates in order to stem that inflation. Those expectations get almost immediately priced into bond yields, which drive mortgage rates. So we've seen the 5-year Government of Canada bond yield, which is a good benchmark for borrowing costs for mortgage providers, rise about 40 or 50 basis points. So we've already seen key benchmarks for mortgage rates rise. I think a lot of banks or lenders might like to hold off on passing that through to mortgages, but the longer this goes on, the longer those rates stay elevated, they're not going to be able to do that, and eventually we'll see higher fixed mortgage rates as well.
If somebody asks, what would you say to either a prospective buyer that's trying to purchase a property and perhaps to somebody who's trying to sell a property right now?
Lots of uncertainty. Of course, we've been dealing with uncertainty for a while, and this is one more layer of uncertainty. This is real uncertainty about rates, though. And a lot of it is what's the decision between a variable rate and a fixed rate. If markets think that the Bank of Canada is going to be raising rates, it's going to be fascinating to see what they say at their meeting in April 29th. I don't think they're going to do anything on rates. I think they'll hold, but their guidance on how they're going to react to rising oil prices and rising inflation is going to be really interesting. They could come out and say that they think this is a temporary shock and it'll be over relatively soon. And therefore they don't have to do anything. We could see fixed rates come down and bond yields come down. But they could very well, feel like, well, last time around when we had inflation running a little bit too hot, they waited a little maybe too long. That's pretty recent in their memory, in the memory of financial markets. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see if they give any real guidance to markets about their approach over the next few months.
Brendan Ogmanson, BC REA Chief Economist. We really appreciate your time and helping us put this in context. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks.
Federal Finance Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne has begun a train visit to China. Recently, CBC News got rare access inside one of that country's robotic-powered factories. Electric vehicles that are built faster using far fewer workers. The CBC's Chris Brown looks at what the implications might be when Canada welcomes China's cars.
At this Shanghai service station, the attendants are robots. English teacher Tony Tsao doesn't plug in his EV to charge its battery. A robot trades his empty battery for a full one in the time it takes to grab a coffee.
Almost like 3 minutes, because you can see that on the screen, right? It shows the process of the battery swap process. I think it's getting shorter and shorter.
With Chinese EV maker NIO, you own the car but rent the battery.
It's better than charging my battery because it saves more time for me.
Not only is China dominating the global market for electric vehicles, it's developed an entire ecosystem of battery swapping and charging stations to support them.
China's strengths in electric vehicle sector are undeniable. And in order for Canada to build our own competitive EV sector, we need to learn from innovative partners.
After Prime Minister Mark Carney's visit to China, Canada opened the door just a bit to Chinese EVs by allowing 49,000 to be sold into Canada's domestic market. It's part of a bigger play allowing Canadian agricultural products to regain access to China. That's not a lot of cars, but the implications of giving Chinese companies such as Geely, BYD, Xiaomi, and Chery a Canadian footprint could be transformational. It could mean confronting the kind of industrial change that North America hasn't seen in decades, and embracing Chinese-designed tech that makes many people feel uneasy. CBC News was given rare access to a Geely factory that makes the Zeekr line in Ningbo, south of Shanghai. Well, Zeekr is a new name to Canadians. Geely also owns Volvo and its electric performance brand Polestar. It means the Chinese giant isn't starting from zero. It already has an in with Canadian consumers. And inside this plant, we saw exactly what the rest of the Canadian auto industry could soon be facing. The formula for China's electric vehicle success is straightforward. Massive automation leads to massive scale, and that scale is now pointed directly at Canada's market. The welding area alone uses 850 robots to do precision work. It's known as a dark factory. The robotics rely on sensors, and there are so few workers that the lights don't even need to be turned on. A rhythmic, unceasing, automated assembly line, like a pulse, produces a finished vehicle every 60 seconds. All of it's accomplished with just 1,600 employees on the floor. It's a level of human-to-robot efficiency that dwarfs North America.
What do our customers care about? They care about whether the vehicle is reliable, whether the body is solid, and whether the whole car is safe. Through automated production, we've greatly enhanced our quality control.
You can see we have babies, we have adults.
Nearby, the company has just opened an enormous safety center.
Geely also have the first R&D and the dummy, which is based on the Asian's body. The shape is a little bit medium.
It was built explicitly so that Chinese cars can be engineered to meet high North American safety standards. By matching Western safety with a price tag often under $35,000, the attraction for Canadian consumers is obvious. But that low price isn't just a bargain. It's an alarm bell for the Canadian auto industry. With Chinese electric vehicles, Canadians aren't just getting extra choices in cars. They're getting a product from an AI-driven ecosystem that's already automated away many of the traditional costs of manufacturing.
Look, there's no sugarcoating this. We are in the fight of our lives here.
In Canada's auto heartland, the fear is of an extinction-level event. Unions warn that letting in Chinese EVs built by a workforce of robots that don't collect pensions or pay taxes will jeopardize tens of thousands of Canadian jobs. Other critics allege some components are made with child or forced labor, concerns the Carney government says it's alert to, but China denies. In China, the industrial disruption caused by extreme automation is already reality. Professor Zhang Xiang says while his country loves its new AI-driven technology, the human cost has been high.
Now, in Chinese universities, internal combustion engine majors are disappearing. The main reason is they simply can't recruit students anymore. Everyone knows fuel-powered cars will gradually be replaced by new energy vehicles. It's also a shock to China, too.
But the disruption headed for Canada isn't just the cars. It's the digital grid backstopping them. Chinese giants like Teld have built a national nervous system, an immense energy web with a Chinese AI brain that moves a nation.
In this sense, EV charging infrastructure and electric vehicles are like two legs walking together. For EVs to develop, charging infrastructure must move forward first. Once the infrastructure is well built, the EV industry will thrive even more. This is a mutually reinforcing, complementary process.
Coming across the border.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford has dubbed the Chinese EVs surveillance operations on wheels.
Be listening to your, and I'm not making this stuff up, they're going to be listening to your telephone conversation.
But in the boardrooms of China's tech giants, that's dismissed as nonsense. Swin Xiaohong is with the automobile branch of China's Chamber of Commerce.
We don't think the car can send some information to China. We don't need China to need that because we have the regulations from United Nations.
The data will stay in Canada. Won't come back here.
Yes.
For now, the door to Canada for Chinese electric vehicles is only ajar.
I'm actually a huge fan of this kind of technology.
But Tony Tsao was convinced by what he's experienced and believes Canadians will overcome their concerns too. The unending rhythm of China's lightless factories poses a final dilemma for Canada. Is this an innovative partnership to embrace, or a system that will eventually leave our own industrial heartland in the rearview mirror?
We're now just one day away from the possible launch of Artemis II, the first time humans will go back to the moon in more than 50 years. What to expect from the historic journey? Next. NASA's first lunar mission in more than 50 years with humans on board is now just hours away from launch. After weeks of delays, Artemis II is scheduled to take off from Florida's Cape Canaveral on Wednesday, with Canada's Jeremy Hansen among the crew. Karen Pauls has details about their planned trip around the moon.
The countdown to launch has officially begun for NASA's Artemis II mission to the moon. The first launch opportunity opens on Wednesday, a 2-hour window starting at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. The big factor, weather. Despite high wind and clouds in the forecast, NASA's optimistic.
When I see an 80% chance of go and a 2-hour window, I feel pretty good about our chances.
If the weather doesn't cooperate, they can try again every day until April 6th. This mission has already been delayed twice for mechanical reasons, but with repairs done, officials are confident.
The vehicle's ready, the system is ready, the crew is ready.
The 10-day mission will send the 4 astronauts further from the Earth than anyone has ever gone, about 7,400 kilometers beyond the far side of the moon, with Earth nearly 400,000 kilometers in the background. Their return through the Earth's atmosphere also expected to be the fastest ever. Pilot Victor Glover will become the first person of color to head into deep space, Christina Cook, the first woman, and Jeremy Hansen, the first Canadian. He's bringing along Indigenous teachings.
I'm wearing a Canadian patch here that was designed by an Anishinaabe artist, and it just represents some of the beauty of Indigenous culture and their perspective on the moon.
The Indigenous artist who designed it is thrilled.
All of this world to recognize the Indigenous knowledge and to share it with the world.
This mission is meant to prove the Orion spacecraft's life support systems can sustain crew for an eventual landing on the moon. That's now scheduled for 2028. The ultimate goal? Exploring Mars. But for now, the focus is on getting this mission off the ground. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The weather update is brought to you by Paul Davis Property Restoration Experts. When things go wrong, we do what's right.
Our science and climate specialist, and we emphasize the science bit especially now, Darius Madavi with the BC-wide weather forecast. But let's start on the launch pad, because this is very exciting.
How could we not? The first time in 50 years that we're going to the moon, over 50 years, I should say, and with a Canadian astronaut on board for the very first time. And now NASA forecasters and Space Force forecasters have predicted an 80% chance that the weather conditions will be good enough for the rocket to launch, which is a higher bar than you might imagine. There are a lot of criteria for NASA to say that we are okay to go ahead with a launch, a lot of weather conditions. And I mean, there's the obvious ones like, you know, don't do it in very gusty winds or a hurricane. Don't do it if there's a thunderstorm. But also things you might not think about, like those big puffy white cumulus clouds can also disrupt a launch, or even solar activity, solar weather. We're worried about space weather as well. So today we've seen a few cumulus clouds coming ashore. This is where that red dot is where we have the Space Center, the Kennedy Space Center, where the rocket will be launching from, Launch Pad 39B. And as it does so, we're going to be watching for these clouds, hopefully in that 2-hour launch window that opens tomorrow at 3:24 p.m. Pacific time. We will see some point where the skies are clear enough for the rocket to take off. We're also a little bit concerned about these winds, but so far it looks like they will remain well within the criteria for a launch, which is good news. Of course, also worried not just about the surface winds, but those at higher elevations as well. And then solar weather. We had a very large solar flare just yesterday that could impact the mission. Remember, the astronauts are going to be in space for 10 days. You're pretty exposed to radiation when you're flying between Earth and the moon. So NASA wants to make sure that those astronauts will be safe and they're not going to get blasted with electromagnetic radiation. Now, with all that said, let's turn to our weather here in BC, where we have precipitation making its way down the coast. That low pressure system going to drive it down into southwest BC as we get into tomorrow and then also overnight into Thursday. I will also note that some parts of Vancouver Island plus Haida Gwaii already getting some of that rain. We'll continue to be getting some of that rain by this evening, and it will be snow on the mountains. Freezing levels around 500 to 1,000 meters, so good news on that front as well. Some of that precipitation will break into the southern interior, although much more sporadic. Temperatures remain pretty consistent over the next couple days, but they do start to climb as we get into the weekend pretty significantly, even here on the coast. And after some more sunshine tomorrow and a few flurries mixed in there for parts of the interior, here's our 5-day forecast. And again, some clearing and warming as we get into the weekend.
I think we'll take it. Darius, thanks very much.
Thank you.
They're very pretty and ripe for your selfies, but some cherry blossoms come with a bit of a catch. Why Mounties in Richmond want you to enjoy them after you park in the right place. That's next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox. Join us for Vaisakhi, the Sikh New Year celebration on April 11th in Vancouver and Saturday, April 18th in Surrey. While you're taking in the festivities, swing by the CBC tent to say hello and enter for your chance to win some great prizes. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC's e-newsletter and keep connected with us.
They're hard to miss and lovely to see. Cherry blossoms bursting into bloom here on the South Coast. They're lovely to photograph as well. Richmond RCMP, though, reminding drivers to enjoy the view, but don't park wherever you want. The force says dozens of cars have been stopped near the park next to YVR, despite no stopping signs. Mounties say they handed out 32 tickets along Russ Baker Way, and 2 vehicles were towed over the weekend. The city is asking people to park in designated areas. Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gym, our free app, as well as on YouTube, and of course, our website, cbc.ca/BC. We will have your next local news at 11 o'clock, right after the National. Good night.